Hey, Algebra 1, this is page 50 and 51, your homework. I'm just going to work out the problems that we didn't do yesterday in class. If you remember, we did 1, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. So double check your work, make sure you feel comfortable with it. If you have any questions, let me know. So the problem number 2 looks like this. Remember, this is the double distribute, so we're going to multiply here. That's going to give me 16x squared. That's going to give me plus 40x. That's going to give me plus 6x, and that's going to give me plus 15. We have these as our like terms, so that's going to give me plus 46x plus 15 as your answer. Number 3, 2x minus 11 and 2x plus 11. Does anyone remember the trick on this? They're the exact same thing, except we have the signs are different, so you just multiply the first and the last. That's all you have to do. So you get 4x squared minus 121. If you did the middle, you get negative 21x or negative 22x and positive 22x, and they'd cancel out. Then we went to number 5. We have x plus 1 and x minus 9. So multiply here and here, so that's going to be x squared minus 9x plus 1x minus 9. X squared minus 8x minus 9. Problem number 6, we have x minus 2 and 5x minus 3. Double distribute, so that's going to give me 5x squared minus 3x minus 10x plus 6. We're going to combine those like terms. So we're going to get that. Cool. So if you have any questions about those, let me know. Then we went down, and number 11 would have been the next one I would have asked you to try. So x squared minus 4x minus 5. Remember, we're going to put a 1 out front, multiply those together. I get a negative 5. In order to get a negative 5, we're multiplying two numbers together. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. So the only ways I'm going to get 5 when multiplying two numbers together is 1 times 5. And let's see, I want these to be able to add up to negative 4. So I'm going to have negative 5x and positive 1. If I add those together, I will get that negative 4. So bring your endpoints down. And then fill these in with your middle. So watch your signs. Looks like I have an x in common between those two, and that gives me x plus 1. Remember, that middle sign comes down. And I get 5x plus 1 because I'm factoring a negative out. Those are the same, which we want. Okay, then we went to number 13 I wanted you to work on because we did 12 in class yesterday, remember that? So I'm going to get 3x squared minus 8x plus 5. We don't have to worry about putting a 1 up front because we already have a 3, so we get a positive 15. Remember, when we multiply two numbers together and we get a positive, that means that my signs have to be the same. Okay, so I believe that they're both going to be negative and negative because I have that negative 8 there. Factors of 15 are 1 and 15. Well, they're not going to give me that. And then let's do 3 and 5. If I have negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8, so don't forget the x's. Go in the middle of the two. Bring our ends down. And whatever order you want, just make sure you bring the signs with it. All right, it looks like I can factor a 3x out of both of those, and that's going to leave me x minus 1. Middle sign comes down. I can factor a 5 out of both of those. Remember, I'm factoring a negative out, so all the signs are going to change on over here. So that's going to come out. Those have to be the same in order for it to factor, and they are. And that works. Number 14. 4x to the third plus 6x to the fourth. Okay, so this one, I only have two terms. So all we're doing is looking for the greatest common factor. So I think a 2 can be factored out, and then I can factor a whole bunch of x's out. I can factor a total of 3 x's out, so x to the third. If I factor a 2 out of 4, I'm left with 2. If I factor an x to the third out of x to the third, there's nothing going to be there. Then I have plus. If I factor 2 out of 6, I have 3 because that's going to take place, and then I have x to the first. That's your answer. You can double check it. You can go 2x to the third times 2 is 4x to the third. Perfect. And 2x to the third times 6, or times 3x is going to give me 6x to the fourth. So here's my answer. Number 15, we have 5x squared minus 5x minus 2. Let's multiply those together. So I'm going to get negative 10. In order to get a negative number, I have to have positive and negative. And hang on, let's see. 1 times 10 gives me 10, and 2 times 5 gives me 10. Is there any way that any of these, one being positive and one being negative, could add up to that negative 5? The answer is no. So this one is just going to be called prime. When you see the word prime, that means it will not factor. Okay, it's already factored in its factored form. There's nothing that'll come out of it. On page 51, number 16, we have 6x squared minus 17x plus 5. Let's multiply those together. So I'm going to get positive 30. Remember, to get a positive number, it's positive times positive, or negative and negative. Being I have a negative there, I know they're both negative. So the factors of 30 are 1 and 30. That's not going to give me 17. 2 and 15, though. Oh, will 2 and 15 add together to give me negative 17? Sure will. Make sure you have the x included on those. So I'm going to have 6x squared minus 2x minus 15x plus 5. Remember, you bring your ends straight down. And we're going to take a look. I'm going to factor a 2 and an x out of both of those. That's going to leave me 3x minus 1. This negative sign comes down. I'm going to factor a 5 out of both of those, and that's going to leave me 3x minus 1. Remember, I've changed the signs. Remember, so negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x. Negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5, so it's fine. Those are the same. That's what we want. And then I get to this for an answer. Number 17, I have 8x to the third minus 28x to the second plus 24x. Well, the first thing I see is they all have an x, so I know I can pull an x out. And then what's the biggest number that I can pull out of 8, 28, and 4? 2 is correct, but there's something bigger. Yeah, you can factor a 4 out of those. If I factor a 4 out of 8, I'm left with 2. If I factor an x out of x to the third, I'm left with x squared. If I factor a 4 out of negative 28, I'm left with negative 7. If I factor an x out of x squared, I'm left with x. Notice I'm keeping my signs the same. If I factor a 4 out of 24, I'm left with 6, and the x comes out. So bring this. This is our greatest common factor. So bring this down. We're going to see if we can factor down any further. So I'm going to pay attention only to this part. So 6 times 2 is positive 12. Positive 12 means both signs have to be the same. I have a negative here, so they're both going to be negative. And I think 3 and 4 are going to add up. If they're both negative, do they add up to negative 7? The answer is yes. So let's bring our ends down. So I have 2x squared, and I have 6, positive 6. In between, I'm going to have minus 3x and minus 4x. And factor an x out. Middle sign comes down. I can factor a 2 out. Make sure you change the signs. Those are the same. That's what you want. But notice I have it down at the bottom, and I still have that 4x. That's part of it. So make sure you have this as part of your answer. You don't want to miss a point on that. Number 18, I have 4x squared minus 3x plus 8. Now I'm thinking, do I have greatest common factor? And I don't on this one. Nothing. I mean, I could factor a 1 out, but that doesn't help us. Multiply those together, I'm going to get a positive 32. In order to get a positive 32, I have to have both negative, because I have a negative there. Because negative times negative is positive. Factors of 32. I don't know if this is going to work. 2 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. None of those are going to work. So it's not going to factor. So what do I write? Yeah, you write prime. Prime means it won't factor. Number 19, I have 25x squared y squared plus 15xy to the third. Let's take a look. I can factor a 5 out of both of those. Can I factor an x out? Can I factor a y out? How many y's can I factor out? Yeah, I can factor out y squared. All right, so if I factor a 5 out of 25, I'm left with 5. If I factor an x out of x squared, I'm left with x. If I factor a y squared out of y squared, everything comes out. Plus, factor a 5 out of 15, that's 3. Factor an x out of x, that's going to come out. Factor a y squared out of y to the third, I'm left with a y. That's my answer. This is my greatest common factor that I was able to take out. Number 20, I have x to the fifth minus 2x to the fourth minus 8x to the third. And looking at it, I see they all have an x. How many x's can I factor out of all three? Yeah, I can factor those three. If I factor x to the third out of x to the fifth, that leaves me x squared minus 2. If I factor x to the third out of x, I'm left with, or x to the fourth, I'm left with x. If I factor x to the third out of negative 8x to the third, I get to here. So this is my greatest common factor, so let's bring this down. Let's see, it might factor, if that's the only thing that factors, this is the answer up here, but let's double check. Negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. In order to get a negative number when I multiply, I have to have one positive and one negative. So 1 and 8 and 2 and 4. Is there any way that one's positive, one's negative, that gives me a negative 2? And I'd say a negative 4 and a positive, or negative 4 and a positive 2, both with x's. That would add up to that. So I'm going to get x squared minus 8. I'm going to squeeze in between the two, plus 2x minus 4x. Factor an x out, so I'm left with x plus 2. This negative sign comes down. I can factor a 4 out of both of those. And then those are the same. That's what we want. So x plus 2 and x minus 4. And again, remember I have that x to the third that we brought all the way down. Number 21. We have 2x squared minus, put the wrong sign, minus 7x plus 6. Nothing to factor out, no greatest common factor. Let's multiply those together, so I'm going to get positive 12. In order to get a positive, they both have to be positive, or they both have to be negative. Being I have a negative there, that tells me they're both negative. And the factors of 12 that add up to 7 are 3 and 4 if they're both negative. So don't forget the x's. So I'm going to bring my n's down, so I get 2x squared plus 6, or plus 6. And then put those in the middle, whatever order you want, just carry your signs with you. So I can factor an x out of that, and that leaves me 2x minus 3. The negative sign comes down, factor 2 out of those. Oops, I meant to add a minus there. And then that's also a minus because I factor the negative out. Those are the same, that's great. And x minus 2. There we go. All right, let's take a look at number 22. This is a tougher problem. Okay, let's take a look. So we have a triangle. They have the height, and they're saying that that's x minus 2. And we don't know what this is. That's a big question mark, okay? But they did tell us the area is equal to 1/2 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. Okay, so they're telling us that's what the area is right now. So I know on a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. Okay. Well, if I already know this is the area, I can plug that in right there for the A. Ooh, this is kind of a doozy of a problem, but let's see if we can play through it. So I'm going to do this. I know that's the area. And then I have 1/2 base. I don't know. So we'll make that a question mark, times height, which is x minus 2. Ooh. Let's see. I can multiply both sides by 2, and that's going to cancel my fraction. That's going to give me 2x squared minus 7x plus 6. The halves canceled out. So then I have this question mark, x minus 2. Ooh. I think the only thing I could maybe do here, because it's not going to really make sense, is I'm going to try and factor this. So that's going to give me a positive 12. And I have that, so both are negative. So I know it's going to be 3x, negative 3x and negative 4x. Okay, plug those in the middle. So I'm going to get 2x squared minus 3x minus 4x plus 6. And that's going to be equal to this. I can factor an x out of both of those. That leaves me 2x minus 3. Negative sign comes down. Then I get 4, or I can bring it 2 out, excuse me. 2, and that's going to give me 2x minus 3. Okay, I think we might be able to work this. So I get 2x minus 3, because those are the same, and x minus 2, and then question mark x minus 2. Well, the question mark, the only thing the question mark could be is the 2x plus 3. So our missing side is 2x minus 3. That's a tougher one to think about. That might be a bonus type of question on a quiz. Okay, so my friends, we went over quite a bit of this. Let's have you work page 52 and 53. And you can do 1 through 18 all. And let me know if you need any help. I'm happy to work with you on it. Have a great day.